So the big problem is the chicken and egg problem. Which comes first? The energy farm or the transmission lines? Because they're both a big investment, and neither group wants to invest without having the other. You can't build a energy farm without transmission lines, and you're not going to have transmission lines going to the middle of nowhere without a farm. So it's a problem. And another problem is the idea that farms are usually built in phases. So 100 units might be built today, 100 more might be built in a few years. Transmission lines, when they're built, they need to be built for the maximum capacity. So it's a big risk, very big risk. Okay, so DER, distributed energy resources. This is an opposite take on the same thing, but they coexist. That's the great thing about the smart grid. Management. Okay, so our problem is the dependence on large power plants. They're vulnerable to attack, they're vulnerable to hackings, weather, energy, fuel shortages. If somebody were to attack that or reroute the energy, that whole region would lose its electricity, killing the economy, threatening people's lives. It would be terrible. So we need to be a bit more independent. The grid, the smart grid, as I was saying before, it has a lot of sensors, a lot of information going through it. So it will be able to seamlessly, this is the goal, to integrate generation and storage systems as simple as possible. So solar panels, wind turbines, fuel cells, batteries, plug-in vehicles. So if you have those in your house, or if you will have those in your house, you'll be able to make a profit off them, or just have them for yourself. And that'll save you thousands of dollars in the long run. So it will be easier and more profitable for commercial and private users to install distributed energy resources. Right here is a company which has wind turbines on their roof. It's also, so it helps consumers, both commercial and residential, but it also helps out utility companies, because installing one of these resources is much more it's much cheaper and much simpler than getting the permits and getting the financing to build big new plants. So if you have a problem in one area, you just build a small distributed energy resource there, and you're set. Okay, so the future of power plants, large central power plants, including the environmentally friendly sources, such as solar power farms that I was talking about before, will continue to play a huge role. However, there's going to be more independence from them, which will increase reliability, and because it'll increase reliability because, let's say, a transmission line went down, your neighbors have electricity, you have electricity in your house because of solar power, everything. So what will start is these microgrids. Your community will be producing and selling electricity within it. So the problem right now with DER expansion is that compatibility. So you don't really want to invest in something that, well, first of all, it costs thousands of dollars, and then you don't want to worry that the investment will be stranded by technology. So for example, let's say you buy a solar panel, you want to make sure your solar panel can communicate with your smart meter so that your solar panel knows when to sell electricity back into the grid, or when just to keep it in the house, or when to store it in a battery that you have in your house. So there's a lot of communications aspects, a lot of information systems. So this is similar to HD, DVD, and Blu-ray, where people didn't know which one do you buy, which player do you buy. The same thing is going on with technologies in this communication. The goal is to have a plug-and-play system where everything's standardized. So you can connect any power generation into the grid and have it communicate fully. Just as you can go to Best Buy, buy a computer, and then a couple minutes later just be surfing the net. So hopefully, one day we'll just be able to buy a solar panel, install it, and have it running to your preferences. Electric vehicles, which I think are the future. This is the Nissan Leaf. It's going to be sold for $25,000, which I think is awesome. It's going to go, it's 100% electricity, 100% battery powered, and it can go 100 miles on that, yes.
When will that be sold?
Soon, this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it costs $32,000, but the government pays like $7,500 of that. So then it gets cut down to $25,000. But the I don't know if the state also gives you a discount too, gives you a subsidization.
So, but it goes 100 miles and then you have to recharge, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But the idea behind this, we only use cars 5% of the day. 95% of the day, they're just sitting there. So essentially what this is, it's a battery pack on wheels. So you can store energy there at night, when energy is cheap, and sell it during the day when you can make a profit off of it.
Cool.
So this is adding a whole new dimension to the way the electricity markets work. Less dependence on the utility and a more communal aspect. Just like the internet. This is very similar to the internet. Also in the aspect that there are many potentials that there are things that we don't even know that can happen that will happen once this is developed. Who would think of Twitter or Facebook, 30 years ago? So Malta plans to be the first smart grid nation. 25,000 interactive meters will monitor their electricity usage in real time. Since they're an island, they're also very worried about their water system, and so they're attaching it to their water system too. So they're going to be monitoring their water system, which we should also consider, and which I'm sure Hawaii should also consider, as you were saying. Okay. However, we're also investing a bit into it. There are 100 grants totaling $3.4 billion, which went out in the last stimulus package. Not much has been said since then. So I think the whole healthcare thing slowed things down, but I hope that it moves back up. China is spending $8 billion a month. So this is a joke. Okay, I am proud of the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They will establish 77 smart grid standards over the next few years. So this is simplifying the process, making it more attractive to enter the smart grid industry. 14 standards are going to be finalized this year alone. And this is a very fast pace for them. Usually it takes like 5 years, but I think they're like cutting it down to 3. So it's spectacular. And these standards will increase efficiency and cost. So the cost of this whole thing is estimated to be $400 billion over, $400 billion over the next 10 years, over 10 years. So I think it is quite a bargain, considering that $206 billion it costs us $206 billion every year, and by having it, $1 trillion would be added to our GDP. So, to me, there's no questions asked. The smart grid is the way to save money, to make money, to get the expertise. If we don't move on it, somebody else will move on it and get the expertise, and then be able to sell to other nations. Right now, China is going to sell, may sell to California a rail system. That's because the Chinese know about high-speed rail, and we don't. So if we know about the smart grid, we can then sell our technology and our expertise around the globe.